So, I was a very hormonal teenager. In simpler terms, I was horny as once I discovered corn and jerking off, it was just downhill from there, bro. Like, I am pretty sure that most of my time between the ages of 12 and 18 was just spent with me viciously beating my meat. I'm older now, and while I still have more than enough drive to carry out God's commandment to procreate, it's more controlled, so I don't do that anymore. But back then I was a monster. As a kid who grew up in a Christian household, I was always part of the virgin till I married club. But after I beat my meat for the first time and got that first nut, I knew I wasn't going to wait, bro. And thus began my mission to get laid. So it's my last year of high school, and while I was still pretty young, I'd racked up quite a bit of experience with girls, and I had pretty okay game back then. And while I may cringe hard now because of a lot of the shit I did back then, I definitely did well for myself, and I wasn't hard on the eyes. Despite all these though, I was still a virgin, and it didn't seem like it was going to change anytime soon because I never had the privacy for that. So I just taken my mind off of it, but if the opportunity to smash came along, I was going to take it, and that opportunity presented itself a few months before my graduation. You see, I went to about 5 or 6 different high schools, and that's not counting the ones I had to temporarily attend because of external exams. So that meant that I was almost always one of the new kids, and that often brought me attention. This story takes place in one of the last high schools I went to. It was my sister's school, and my mom suggested I go there to be able to keep an eye on them and do all that big brother stuff. Now, I'm not saying this to stroke my own ego, but I was blessed by puberty in my later years of high school. Okay, maybe I am stroking it a little, but come on, who doesn't like a good stroking? I mean, you can't blame me for being God's favorite. Anyway, that meant that I was getting attention from girls, some of it coming from juniors. One of said juniors happened to be one of my sister's classmates, so when my sister told me that this child had a crush on me, I was like, cute, and I kept it moving. Fast forward a few weeks, I'm on Facebook and I get a friend request from this girl who I thought looked vaguely familiar. I went through her profile and discovered that she was Facebook famous in our town. Now, personally, this would have been a bit of a red flag because where I grew up, the more Facebook famous you are, the more likely it is you belong to the streets. I don't make the rules, but it's just how it was back then. But I see we have a few mutual friends, so I accept her request and we start texting. We're talking and then she's all like, I heard a lot about you from my sister. She's always like, Stello this, Stello so fine, Stello that. So I decided to check you out for myself and I'm not disappointed. Or something like that. Turns out she graduated from my school sometime before I started going there, and my sister's classmates who had a crush on me was actually her sister, and she'd been talking about me. She also mentioned that we'd gone to the same school in the past when I was younger, but it was one of the more crowded schools, so we never really interacted. She was like a few classes ahead of me back then, and she thought that I looked like a bike man's child. I swear to God that's exactly what she said, and looking back I honestly can't blame her, bro. That was a tough period for my family, and my only uniform had quite a bit of patchwork and my shoes were falling apart, held together by the glue I used on it every 2 to 3 days. We keep talking for a while and we even begin flirting and getting a little suggestive with our text, and immediately a light bulb came on in my head. This was an older girl with more experience. We were both attracted to each other and I was trying to get laid. Do you see where I am going with this? Shorty and I keep texting for a while. We get to see each other a few times and I eventually ask her to be my girlfriend, to which she says yes. Now, I was excited because everything was falling in place. I was doing well in school and I was about to graduate. I had a pretty girlfriend and I was finally going to swipe my Vcard. I get to school the next day feeling like that guy. I am him. I was out here moving like, yo, you know what they call me in the streets? Heavy neutron. I'm feeling this way because I had just bagged an older girl, and not just any older girl, an older girl that wasn't in high school. Of course I was going to tell my best friend about it. I tell my boy JB about it, and what this man said in response hit me like Corona hit the world. Bro, what do you mean you're dating Harley? Like Miss Harley with a Z. Bro, how many Miss Harleys do we both know? Bro, you can't be dating Harley because I'm dating Harley. No. Harley told me she was single. Of course, I wasn't just going to believe it like that. There must be a misunderstanding or something. Now, this made me a little bit suspicious because while I did like her, the relationship was still pretty new and I hadn't grown too attached. So JB and I come up with a plan. You see, Harley worked at this business center where most of us had gone to register for our exams to apply for university, and we planned to meet her at work together that weekend just to see her reaction. We get to our office and this girl just acts like there's nothing wrong. What the f? I want to bring it up, but there were other people in the shop, so JB and I just acted normal, played it cool like all was good, just having regular conversations and stuff. Then we left after about 10 minutes. Now, you would think that this story should have ended here, but it didn't. Why? 3 words. I was horny. You see, after the whole thing with JB, I decided to do some digging on Harley, and word on the streets was that she was a team player and she was a very good ball handler, and she'd gotten real friendly with a lot of guys on the team. Once again, this story should have ended here. I should have just cut her off and moved on with my life, but then this video would have been shorter than it is right now. You see, all of the blood in my brain was pumping somewhere else, so when I heard this I thought, I could make this work. I figured that while our relationship was pretty much over, I'd probably still be able to smash if I played my cards right. Not my proudest moments, but I did what I did. I continued talking to Harley for a while and we never really addressed the thing with JB. I have no idea what she thought in her head, but we just moved past it. We're texting one Saturday afternoon and she tells me to pull up to the office because her boss was out, and I knew that this time it was going to go down. I get there as soon as possible, but then I get a bit disappointed when I see that one of our older co-workers was still there. We decide to just go into our boss's office and hang out with the door open. Some time goes by and our co-worker gets up and leaves. We continue talking and wait for a while to see if she was going to come back, but after about 5 minutes, Harley goes to close the door and sits on the table, putting her directly in front of me with barely any space between us. We keep talking, and the whole time we're talking, our eyes are locked and we're getting closer and closer to each other. Eventually, we get real close, and then